Hi there, and you're with Fraser Chesterman, and I am very pleased for our CEO Summit to have one of those CEOs I've been really keen to interview, Mr. Christoph Gamper of Durst.
Hi, Fraser.
Thank you, Christoph. Yeah, no, genuinely, the idea behind our CEO Summit was always to try to get together with some of those CEOs from the print industry who perhaps would have spoken maybe at Drupa, or perhaps would have been, out there talking about their vision. And perhaps because of the COVID crisis, we've missed that a little bit. And I certainly sense, and our research certainly backs this up, that we're looking for a bit of direction. And that's why it's been so good to be able to speak to some CEOs, and in particular, the opportunity to speak to Christoph, really. So, Christoph, thank you for joining us. As you and I have known each other for a few years, obviously from when I was at Vesper, and then when we did Imprint. And how long have you been with Durst now?
It's a little bit more than 10 years. I think it's 11 years now, yes.
And just give us a quick flavor of your background.
Okay, my background, basically with Durst, I'm CEO and since 6 years co-owner as well. So I entered the group, the holding. We are a technology leader in digital production systems. We develop inkjet presses, but not just presses, but as well inks, hardware, software, always in the field of surface decoration. Our main applications in this field are large format, industrial textile, label and packaging, ceramics, and other different industrial applications. So as a company, we have a background of more than 80 years in production systems. So we come from photography, and obviously from photography to inkjet, but we're an old company.
Yeah, and your headquarters is in Brixham in the South Tyrol in Italy, which I think that's where you're from originally, isn't it? That's your sort of area.
So my personal story is, you're right. I mean, I'm really from South Tyrol, so I'm a local guy, and but I worked all over the world. I mean, I spent time working in China, in the US, in Switzerland, so quite a colorful background before I came home and I was called to the helm of this wonderful technology company, which is pretty unique from the standpoint looking at it as a South Tyrolean company. We have a lot of technology companies, but you wouldn't really think that digital inkjet would be in the middle of the mountains. But we love it there, and so it's good.
You do love it there. However, you're not in South Tyrol at the moment, are you?
No, I'm not. I mean, we had a chat before. Right now I'm really sitting in New York. I mean, we have, let's say 40 to 45% of our activities are on the American continent. We have a couple of companies here, different companies. And yes, it's my first basically big trip after this pandemic. And I'm in New York now since a week. I did my test out time and everything. And I will be working here for the next couple of weeks to pursue our interests on the continent.
Yeah, and I guess being in the US, no problem, Christoph. You see the US as one of those markets that are really important in terms of the technology you're developing.
Yes, definitely. I'm sorry, it's just my daughter trying to call me.
No, I always think if it's your daughter, I can understand it's important. So no worries. Please keep going.
Yeah, so yes, the US continent is definitely very, very important for us because, first of all, it's a big market. And second of all, it's a very fast technology adapter. So certain things we're doing, it's really, let's say it's not, I wouldn't say easier, but it's kind of easier to implement it over here. And our activities here, we do this since a long time. I'm very close to the US as well, due to personal reasons and other reasons. And it's important for us. Yeah,
that's interesting. So let's just go more to the big picture stuff, which I've asked everyone that I've interviewed who are CEOs. I always start with the sort of question, and I kind of suggested earlier on that, if Drupa had been taking place in April, I guess a lot of CEOs would have been there talking to the press in terms of vision and in terms of direction and kind of leadership for the print industry. What's your overall vision for the graphics and the kind of packaging sectors at the moment? What do you see generally as the picture?
I mean, generally, this pandemic had one good part. I mean, we have to be very cautious to say it was a good part, but basically what we had out of this is the digitalization speed is enormous. So this is a big chance to really do new things. I mean, so the focus goes away with the help of this pandemic, or let's say, due to this pandemic, it goes away from installing the biggest machine to installing the best machine. I mean, best machine meaning not the firepower of a single printing press, but a process which is sound and solid, that you don't need 200 people to run it and 500 people to support it. And I think that's kind of the big picture. We already knew 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago that inkjet is out of the baby shoes. It goes into industrial production processes. And I mean, we have seen this in ceramics since years, but I'm seeing now this towards packaging as well. So the systems are getting into, let's say, an adult age. So now digital inkjet is a production technology and it's not an experiment anymore. And this has been accelerated by the pandemic because people had to use it. I mean, they had it there, they used it, and packaging actually was growing. I mean, large format, unfortunately, was difficult for our customers because a lot of signage, trade shows, outdoor simply did not happen during the whole thing, all the campaigns and everything. But what happened was packaging. So it helped to speed it up, to make it more digital, and to bring this idea of a sound and solid digital process in the head of a lot of customers.
Yeah. I've heard that mentioned several times. I guess that perhaps there's a sense that this has sped up those trends that were already happening, those that shift away from traditional retail environments like sort of high streets or shopping malls. And obviously a lot's gone online, but packaging is still really important. In fact, it plays a different role, doesn't it? It increases the importance of packaging because of its kind of offshoot and what happens from it. So I get that. You are fairly, you've just had a partnership with another major manufacturer, Gamper, and that is all about kind of developing the technology for new systems, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about developing new systems, but as well to market systems we already have. Yeah. I mean, we have single pass technology for packaging now since a couple of years. We successfully brought it to Europe, installed the first customers. I mean, it's quite a heavy duty development for us. Yeah. And then it's a heavy duty market access as well. So together we have a completely different approach to the market, and it's paying off even during this pandemic. It's starting really to paying off. We're quite happy with this. I'm very happy with this partnership, and I think my partner as well.
Christoph, if I was a packaging converter, for example, listening to you talk, why would I consider digital, and particularly single pass, the type of technology you've developed? Why is it so, why does it make such a difference, and where does it fit?
Well, first of all, it depends on a lot of factors if digital is interesting for you or not. I mean, this is run length, this is what you need to do or what you want to do. But you have the biggest advantage is the advantage of being digital. So meaning you can do a mass customization pretty easy with the right hardware and software and so on. You can, that's let's say the advantage everyone knows. But then it comes very fast down to a lot of other things. I'm happy to go into the specifics if you would be a customer now, because there's an ROI logic behind it. Yeah. I mean, it is not for everyone. Let's say it really, you have to have the right products, you have to have the right customers. But once you go digital, you cannot go back, because once your customer, your brand owner, whoever it is used to get digital on his products, he wants digital. So, and then it becomes a very, very interesting calculation as well, because, then you're no longer just a short or mid run and the long run, because colors and so on and blah, blah, blah. As you see this is why I'm always saying the process is the most important thing. It's not so, the press is one thing. And maybe, yes, chemistry is important as well, because if you want to print food packaging, you cannot use a UV press. Right? That's a simple fact.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So we often hear people saying that there's a lot of value for pivoting to digital for packaging converters. But the question is often, sometimes they're a little bit resistant to the new technology. In fact, they want to justify the reason for not going digital, and that's often because of supply chain or the technology or systems they have in place. So it's kind of quite a big shift for them to move over, and that's often the challenge. I mean, as you just said, and lots of people from the digital market will tell us the value of digital for packaging. It's just pushing, getting them. We've got early adopters. How do we get them over that kind of chasm into the sort of later majority who start to then use it as a technology? No, I'm just interested. I wanted to ask a little bit more about your organization and your kind of investment in inkjet technology and how important it is, and just kind of give us a flavor of the business, the Durst business.
So the Durst business is 100% focused on digital inkjet technology with different applications in it, as I mentioned before. So, and it's not just presses, it's hardware, it's software, it's tools around it, it's education, it's everything is focused around it. Beside this, our company is a little bit bigger than just Durst. So we have another part of the company which makes aluminum components for automotive and some other things. We have another part of the company which does basically angel investing, which does startups and a couple of other things. But Durst is focused and will stay focused on inkjet. I mean, recently we developed our own first head, even if it's not what you would call a piezo head, but it is an inkjet head which is able to basically eject big particles with high viscosity, which is used for specific applications in ceramics. But with a little bit of fantasy, you can easily see that this could come easily to packaging and to other applications as well. So our focus 100% there, and we are investing about 8 to 10% of our revenue into R&D.
And the culture of Durst, tell me a bit about that. I know that's an odd thing to ask the CEO, but for people out there, what's the culture like? What's the culture you've created and the business has?
I think, what I'm seeing, it's very difficult if you ask me this question. You would have to ask one of the guys. I really think we're a very, very, very passionate crowd, and we are technologists, and we really love what we do. If you look a little bit, the buildings we build, the technology we build, if you ask some customers, not everyone is always happy, obviously, but I think overall in the market, we're known that we stand for passion, for quality, and for technology.
Yeah, I often hear people say the word innovation in association with Durst. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, but innovation is so overused. I prefer passion because it's used a lot as well. But what is real innovation? Innovation is
trying things that are different and disrupting the market that exists already. So yeah, it's an overused word, and I get that, but it's interesting looking. What you've done is, to a degree, disrupted traditional routes to market, and with technologies, as you said, you're very focused on technology of a very high standard, but it's also new and innovative and different.
I agree. What I'm trying to say, or maybe where I explained myself wrong, is I don't think building an inkjet press is innovation anymore.
Okay.
But I think if you're able to build an ecosystem which really works and helps the customer to, survive, to make profits, to do something which makes sense, that's innovation. And there is where we want to be, and there where we are. And we do this with passion. And so for me, this is a little bit what I was trying to.
Yeah, and actually that word ecosystem is interesting because that's come up several times recently, and I get a sense that, and I might be wrong, but I get a sense that lots of print businesses have bought into different bits of technology, but there isn't a sense that the ecosystem of all of them interconnects as well as it could do. And I wonder whether that is something, this sort of integration, interconnection, creating ecosystems that really help printers be effective businesses. Is that what you're seeing? Is that what you're sensing? Is that part of what you do?
That's part of what we're doing. That's part of we want to build. That's part of what we're building as well. This is why we have, so many software companies or so many investment in the software companies we own. And this is where we're going. And we're trying to do, and we're striving for, to make it as open as possible, as connectable as possible, to really that you're able to integrate a piece of technology in your given print shop production line or whatever it is. But I think here I'm missing a little bit opportunities like a Drupa and like trade shows to have a real world chat with other CEOs to say, okay, how could we really go together into this? This virtually doesn't really work in the same way. They're missing the human interaction. But that's going to be the next challenge, because it doesn't help if I give you the perfect process, but then you have to add another piece of technology, which may be necessary. And again, the two systems are not talking, and you have to have a bridge, which is again external. And, So
you started to talk. Yeah, no, I think what you're saying makes sense. You started talking a little bit about your relationship with other CEOs and the conversations you have. So tell us a bit more about the kind of partnerships that you'd like to have, the partnerships that you are having. What are you looking for? What
I mean, at the end of the day, I did one, as you mentioned before, Koenig & Bauer was quite important for me I said that this is a good combination of two worlds, which are not necessarily bounded together. We do different things, but that made a lot of sense. But I'm very willing to discuss with others, even with, let's say, competitors, to how would a thing like this, how could it really work?
Yeah. Do you sense that your approach to the market, because I think, the COVID crisis, as you said before, it's challenged some businesses in our market that have had quite, strong positions for several years. But this has really challenged them, hasn't it? It's really challenged them. And Durst has come out quite strong out of this, as you said. You've come out strong. Obviously, you don't have to give away too much of your secret, but was it just good fortune, luck, or was it actually you'd always been positioned well to take the bumps and the crush?
Interestingly, we did an exercise like 2 years ago where we created our digital nightmare competitor.
Really?
So it involved this. It's a strategy process. A lot of companies.
No, it's good.
We did it really in detail, and we had 3 possible scenarios for the future of our company. Mm-hmm. And the worst happened, because it was the one you could say, okay. So we were prepared as well. A little bit, I have to say, we had a lot of, we had excellent customers and a lot of luck, and we worked hard the last 10 years. So we're a very healthy company. We're 100% private. I do not have external investors. So, I can act completely different than anyone else. And so even in times where I said we have lockdown and everything, I tried to keep it together, and I challenged my people to do a couple of different things. So we were looking, what could we do against this COVID crisis? So we came up with the community masks, which was really not to produce masks. It was to give a production idea to our people, to our printers, and they picked it up, and some of them produced a lot, and we even produced a lot. So okay, that was phase 1. In phase 2, we looked into what could we do technology-wise, what core technologies we have where we can really help, and maybe, even sell something. Yep. So we looked at all possible things like, the lung ventilation thing, but it didn't make any sense just because if you don't have a medical approval and so on, no, that's not it. We worked on a couple of open source projects, but we abandoned it. And then really a young guy from our inkjet lab in Brixen comes up and say, hey, I have an idea. We know UV, we know, simulation of airflows. Why don't we look into a system where we definitely can clean out the virus from the air when you're in interiors, in certain rooms, in certain spaces? It worked out pretty well. This project was from idea to execution, and we really built it in Brixen, I think, under 90 days. Wow. We're selling quite some of them. So, but it's not my main business. It will never be.
No, I just wondered about, I just was wondering what you've done. Just also, you you tend to sell your products directly to clients, so you have a very close relationship. It's direct to clients. You don't go through resellers or
no. Usually we don't know.
no. So that tends to work more effectively because you have the closer relationship with the client.
Well, I mean, if you're in my world of system, where a system starts from anywhere, let's say 300,000 to 5 million, then a reseller is a very difficult thing.
Yeah, sure.
We do have distributor in few selected countries where we don't have our own subsidiary, but this is our relationships, which are not all older than 5 years.
Yeah, and the fact you have those relationships makes a difference as well, doesn't it? Because then you're so in tune with your customers, understanding what they need and where they want to go with this. It makes it easier for you to reflect what they need.
I try to. I mean, I really try to. I think, some customers will listen probably to it. They have me on their WhatsApp. If something is really wrong, I get a WhatsApp message. So, this can be day or night or whatever. But no, usually we're working functioning as every other company. But yes, we definitely try to be as close as possible. Said this, we make mistakes as well. But we try to be close, we try to work it out together, and we try to really bring a solution for the problem and into the market.
Yeah. Just being the CEO, how are you thinking about going forward the next year or so in terms of investment, in terms of strategic approach? What's your sort of planning, as much as you can give us? Obviously, you won't want to give too much away, but what's your sort of thinking behind?
No, we had long discussions at the end of the year doing the budget for this year. So I said, no, we burn the budget for this year. I don't really care. We go a little bit. We look into it like you're on a ship, you're in the fog. Until the fog clears, I steer the direction. I'm steering very directly right now. So I was cutting a couple of management levels, and I have a lot of real hands-on meetings, obviously with team, not in person. But, and as soon as we see how the fog clears up, we will go full speed. But what we're doing right now is investing and preparing for growth. We're not hiding, we're really investing. I think we never did so much. We're never putting so much energy into technology projects. Yeah.
Is there anything, are you doing artificial intelligence? Are you looking at some of these sort of, more advanced technologies?
Yeah. Again, if I go back and I say pixel to output or ecosystem or however you want to call it, there are a couple of things which are missing out in a lot. I think some players or whoever the market is missing it. And this can be filled by clever algorithms, by AI. So in the area of inline quality control, nozzle detection, nozzle failure detection. So there are systems on the market, but I think there is space for improvement. Yep. This is one field where we invested quite a lot. And obviously, we're working on new presses.
Yeah, I just wonder, because you said before, and I think, when we're talking about what people think about Durst, we often think that you're very technology focused. So we'd kind of expect you to be looking at technologies, advanced technologies, to think about how they can apply to your your strategic approach. So that's logical. It's logical. I just as we kind of come to finish up, I just want to clarify in my own mind. You mentioned packaging as one of your sectors. You haven't talked about decor. Is that still a market that's interesting?
Yeah, you have to clear it up a little bit for me. For me, I mean, decor, if you mean ceramic decoration is very important for us still. I mean, we launched a complete new product line during the pandemic. It's digital glaze, where it's kind of industrial 2D application with the technology I was talking before. So our own head, which is called Rockjet, which obviously Rockjet, it's still micrometers, but can eject quite big particles with high viscosity, meaning that I can really create a surface. And then on top of the surface, I can do the decoration. So this is then going from being just a decoration press in an industrial line to create the surface, the tactile surface plus the decoration. So you're kind of having more or less a digital tile at the end of the day, which is very, very interesting because it's technology integration. So we had this market, we were number one, but then there are 25 or have been at times 30 producers all around China. This was I meant before. It's not really innovation to create an inkjet press which decorates tiles anymore. It used to be 12 years ago, 15 years ago. But right now, who cares? But if you're able to do the next step and integrate, and there potentially you need the openness as well to talk to other manufacturers to give them the facility to integrate your technology or vice versa. This is where it becomes interesting because it's for the customer, obviously. So that's makes sense. Kind of what I see as decoration markets. Still, there are a couple of other decorations markets where we're working right now. They're real decoration, but it's too early to talk about. That's fair enough. you will see pretty soon something very, very exciting. I'm a big fan of decoration. And the last thing, and then I'm shutting up. Even here, the pandemic helped a lot because everything which was outside went basically from inside. So people is improving their homes, they're staying more at home. So there's a lot of possibilities to do some nice things.
Yeah, there's definitely been a trend, hasn't there? Well, some people, not all people, some people have not been spending money. They've been sitting in their home looking at the walls. They're thinking about home decorations, and there's definitely been a kind of bubble there. So and even coming out of it, in our CEO summit, yesterday we had the speaker who is the economist. He was talking about a sort of boom as we come out of this situation. And obviously, the speed at which we come out, who knows? But there's a sense that there might be a bounce back period, and that's got to be good for as you just said, industrial inkjet, because wherever there is products being made, then inkjet can be used to do that.
And I agree. And I mean, and the next thing, if you look into this, obviously, is 3D. Yeah, it just takes time, but it's. I mean, look back at inkjet at its beginnings. It was a joke. Yeah. You will see the next year. So I have a very, very firm eye as well, obviously, in this direction as we're developing core technology for it.
Yes. Christoph, we've just come to the end. That's been 30 minutes or so of some really interesting insight into what you're thinking about going forward, how Durst is operating, giving us a bit of vision. So thank you very much for that. Really appreciate that. And it's not often we get to have a good conversation like this with you. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Was there anything you wanted to say? Final comment, Christoph?
No, actually, maybe one thing. I'm very, very, very positive that the market will bounce back fast and good. So I see the light at the end of the tunnel for everyone, and I think that's a real good thing. And I'm looking forward to see a lot of people again on real world trade shows. Yeah, no, I think you're right. There's certainly a sense that once we can go to see other people, we'll jump at it. So you're absolutely right. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that, Christoph. It's been great to speak to you, and I hope to catch up with you soon in real life.